Hey everyone, Martin here, and welcome back to another Top 10 video. This time we got something that will be a chain of vids to come, because we're talking about Pokemon. These games have been around since the late 90s, and one particular reason for that is the power that's inside.
Pokemon, gotta catch 'em, it's you and me. I know it's my destiny. Pokemon, oh, you're my best friends in a world we must defend.
Yeah, I'm doing Top 10 Pokemon. I'm doing something similar to CGS001 and suggested by TJ Stanley to do separate lists by region/generation. And where else to start? But Gen 3, of course! Nah, just kidding. I'm starting with Generation 1. Some basic rules for the list. Number 1 is obvious, but only the original 151 Pokemon will be counted. And since Alolan forms are technically from Generation 7, and have to be traded in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, they are excluded from this list. 2. This is based on my personal time with these Pokemon, i.e. training, using them throughout the game, etc. And 3. Remember that this is my own personal list, so if your favorite isn't on here, don't be blue about it. With all that out of the way, let's get started.
Gotta catch 'em all, Pokemon.
I ain't afraid of no ghosts.
It makes me feel good. I ain't afraid of no ghosts. I ain't afraid of no ghosts.
A fierce ghost Pokemon that haunts in the shadows, Gengar starts off this list. Gengar gained a new appreciation in the more recent games, but it certainly kept its praise since the early days. Save for the inability to really use its ghost typing until Gen 4, but regardless. A really good special attacker with good speed, so it'll be quick to get some good damage in. But with the added poison typing, it gains a weakness to ground and psychic types, in addition to its weaknesses of dark and other ghost types. But with its massive diversity for a moveset in both level up and TMs, it can cover quite a bit of ground. Moves like Shadow Ball, Nightshade, and Dark Pulse for Psychic and Ghost types, Dazzling Gleam for Dark types, and Mega Drain for Ground types, along with other moves for coverage like Thunderbolt, Sludge Bomb, and Psychic. And I haven't even started on its Mega Evolution. Adding more defense and special defense while also increasing its already high special attack and speed, along with gaining the ability Shadow Tag, which will prevent switch outs or wild Pokemon from fleeing. Gengar is a really cool Pokemon that is great to have on a team, but like I said before, it became a favorite only recently, so that's why it's so low compared to the others on the list. I still like it though.
Who can you call? Ghostbusters! Gotta catch 'em all, Pokemon!
I like dragons! Dragging your face across the dirt!
Signature Pokemon of the last member of the Elite Four, Dragonite takes my number 9 spot. Like Gengar, this Pokemon became a favorite in the more recent games, but that hasn't stopped it from being a real challenge in the older games. Unless you had an Ice type. Being a pseudo-legendary, its stats are pretty high. Great attack and good everywhere else, save for an average speed. But Thunder Wave and Dragon Dance can fix that problem just fine. Speaking of moves, let's talk attacks, and man does this thing have coverage. Dragon Rush, Hurricane, Aqua Tail, Dragon Tail, the Elemental Punches, Hyper Beam, and Outrage for a level up alone. For TMs, you have moves like Brick Break, Stone Edge, Rock Tomb, Aerial Ace, Steel Wing, Bulldoze, Waterfall, Brutal Swing, and more. You have Fire Punch, Rock Tomb, and Brick Break to cover the horrible weakness to Ice types, Waterfall and Bulldoze for Rock types, Ice Punch and its Dragon moves for other Dragon types, and Steel Wing for its weakness to Fairies. Whatever moveset you give this Pokemon, it's certainly a threat to nearly any team.
Gotta catch 'em all, Pokemon!
Do not mess with Mother Nature. evolution of the only starter Pokemon in Gen 1 to start out with the dual typing, Venusaur takes my number 8 spot. My first experience with Bulbasaur was actually when I first played Pokemon Heart Gold, where I got one for Professor Oak during the post-game. But I didn't really fully use one until Pokemon X and Y. Good special stats with average stats everywhere else. And when it Mega Evolves, it becomes more of a tank with increased defense and a slight increase to attack and specials, and with its ability Thick Fat, it gets rid of the Ice and Fire type weaknesses. But how would you combat them in the first place without some attacking moves? Moves like Vine Whip, Petal Dance, Razor Leaf, Slam, Solar Beam, and of course, Frenzy Plant. Then we got its TM moves like Earthquake, Outrage, Sludge Bomb, Grass Knot, and Mega Drain, but certainly has more power in the status moves. Poison Powder, Leech Seed, and Sleep Powder give Venusaur an additional edge against an opponent. Overall, Venusaur is a good status, setup, and punish Pokemon. But it's not my favorite type of setup and punish Pokemon.
I see now that the circumstances of one's birth are irrelevant. It is what you do with the gift of life that determines who you are.
One of the most overpowered Pokemon in the originals, and still remaining a threat to Pokemon teams everywhere, Mewtwo takes my number 7 spot. Being a Psychic type, its special attack stat is the highest it has, along with speed as the second highest. This changes with its Mega Evolutions, adding more to either attack for X or special attack for Y. But that's not exactly where the power lies. The power is in the moveset. Moves like Psychic, Swift, Aura Sphere, Recover, and its signature move, Psy Strike, which does physical damage against the opponent despite being a special move. In other words, Mewtwo's special attack stat versus the opponent's defense stat. And that's just from level up. TMs give so many possibilities for moveset, with moves like Ice Beam, Solar Beam, Thunderbolt, Shadow Ball, Flamethrower, Energy Ball, and Charge Beam, which would increase its already high special attack. Overall, Mewtwo is a really awesome Pokemon and a threat to many. Face mine on the battlefield? Good luck.
Gotta catch 'em all, Pokemon!
So you're finally here! Fantastic!
The final evolution of the only starter Pokemon in Gen 1 to stay one type, Blastoise takes my number 6 spot. Similar case with Venusaur, where my main experience with it was in Pokemon X and Y. It has good defense stats with average stats everywhere else, and when it Mega Evolves, its special attack skyrockets while its attack and defenses get a smaller boost. It also gains the ability Mega Launcher, which increases the power of Aura/Pulse moves. So moves like Aura Sphere, Water Pulse, Dragon Pulse, and Dark Pulse all get boosts in power. But those aren't the only attacks it can learn. It can learn moves like Aqua Tail, Hydro Pump, Skull Bash, Rapid Spin, and of course, Hydro Cannon. Doesn't seem like much? Well, let's dive into the TM list, shall we? We got moves like Ice Beam, Earthquake, Scald, Focus Blast, Flash Cannon, Surf, and Dragon Tail to give it a little more power to its moveset. While Blastoise has all these good moves, it's not exactly my ideal water type from Gen 1. But we'll get to that one soon enough. Everyone's afraid of getting stung by a bee, right? Well, I'm not an exception. But bees aren't the ones we should fear. What?
You didn't see that coming?
Well, let me explain myself. Butterfree, I honestly didn't expect to be a top favorite of mine, but after taking one through the entire game of Y, Moon, and Let's Go Eevee, it certainly gained a spot on this list. As far as stats go, it mainly relies on its highest stat of special attack, with special defense and speed coming close behind. But it has a lot of common weaknesses, being a bug flying type, with 5 total, and one of them being ×4 strong against it, being rock types. But when it gets higher leveled, it should be able to outspeed them to inflict some status moves onto them. Poison Powder, Stun Spore, and Sleep Powder give Butterfree many options to how you want to play. It also has moves like Psybeam, Gust, Air Slash, and Bug Buzz from Level Up to make use of its special attack. In terms of TMs, it has some coverage there too. Moves like Psychic, Shadow Ball, Solar Beam, Aerial Ace, Roost, Energy Ball, Acrobatics, and U-Turn can make for a good moveset for this little bugger. If it wasn't obvious, this is my favorite status setup in Punish Pokemon. It may be on the weaker side, but that didn't stop me from giving it my number 5 spot in this list. And just because I can,
Hey, Ash! Butterfree's almost out of sight, huh? Take care, Butterfree! Good luck, buddy! Goodbye, Butterfree! I'll always remember you! Thank you for everything! Goodbye, Butterfree! I know it's my destiny!
You know, Ash, you raised Butterfree to have a lot of courage, and I think you just proved you have a lot of courage too.
Thank you, bro. Pikachu. Isn't that beautiful? It sure is.
Good friendships last forever, even though friends don't always stay together. Helping Butterfree to grow, Ash just might have grown a little himself.
Gotta catch 'em all, Pokemon!
I must admit, I am honored you came all the way down here to visit me. It almost makes what I'm about to do seem cruel.
And here's my favorite water type from the Kanto region. Tentacruel was another recent from my Pokemon Sun playthrough, and later in Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. It's even on my champion team on What If I Was Pokemon Champion video. It has good special defense and speed with average stats everywhere else. In terms of moves, it has a lot of diversity. You got the basics for its water poison typing like Water Pulse, Bubble Beam, Sludge Wave, and Hydro Pump, but when you dive into its TM list, that's where the fun begins. Moves like Ice Beam, Sludge Bomb, Scald, Payback, Surf, and even Dazzling Gleam. Needless to say, it has a lot of coverage. It really helped when taking on the Battle Tree in Pokemon Sun. Hands down, my favorite water type in the Kanto region.
Gotta catch 'em all, Pokemon!
This Pokemon sleeps, but also can feast. But play the right notes, and you awaken the beast. The heaviest Pokemon in the entire Kanto region, as well as one of the laziest, Snorlax takes my third place spot. Snorlax's highest stats are HP, attack, and special defense, so it's not that bad of a tank if you need it to be. But it's really lacking in the speed department, so it helps to know that you most likely won't be going first a lot in battles. In terms of moves, there's quite a bit of diversity in the TM list rather than level up. Some good level up moves include Body Slam, Lick, Yawn, Giga Impact, Rollout, Crunch, Heavy Slam, and High Horsepower. Now, let's get into the fun stuff, the TM list. There's two ways to go about the moves, using the attack stat or going for coverage. If you're going for the attack stat, there's moves like Smackdown, Earthquake, Brick Break, Rock Slide, and Wild Charge. If you're going for coverage, there's Ice Beam, Solar Beam, Thunderbolt, Psychic, Shadow Ball, Flamethrower, Focus Blast, and Surf. And you can't forget about its signature Z move when used with Giga Impact, Pulverizing Pancake. Or if you kept one move in particular from when it was a Munchlax, Metronome. With all that being said, Snorlax may not be my number one favorite, or even second, but it takes a solid third place.
Gotta catch 'em all, Pokemon!
Hope you don't mind me pulling a specific here. Sorry, but I couldn't help putting this little one on the list. I'm gonna go through the stats of the normal Eevee real quick, then move on to the partner Eevee. Eevee's stats are pretty average across the board, with the highest stat being its special defense. And being a normal type, its only weakness is fighting types. In terms of moves, we have stuff like Quick Attack, Bite, Swift, Double Edge, and Last Resort. In terms of TMs, the list is a little bit short. Only attacking moves are Hidden Power, Shadow Ball, Return, Frustration, Facade, Round, and Echoed Voice. Of course, you have the evolutions too. Flareon, Vaporeon, and Jolteon when using the Fire, Water, and Thunderstones. Espeon and Umbreon when leveled up with High Happiness during day or nighttime. Leafeon and Glaceon when leveled up next to an area with a Mossy or Icy Rock. And Sylveon when leveled up with a Fairy-type move and at least 2 Hearts of Happiness. There's also the exclusive Z move when used with Last Resort, Extreme Evo Boost, which increases each stat by 2 stages. Good Pokemon normally, but honestly, I prefer to evolve them. Okay, now onto the actual number 2 on the list. Partner Eevee stats are near similar to a normal Eevee, but with a small increase to each stat, with special defense still being the highest stat. On Let's Go Eevee, the level up and TM list of moves increases slightly. Double Kick is the only new move it can learn via level up, and Headbutt, Dig, Iron Tail, and Payday are the only new moves it can learn via TMs. But that's not where the move list ends. That's right, we're going over the exclusive moves. Compared to Pikachu's 3 to 4 exclusive moves, Eevee has a total of 8 to 9 exclusive moves, each doing damage while having an additional effect depending on the move. Each is based on the evolutions it would normally have. By Cerulean City, you have 3 options for moves to learn. Bouncy Bubble based on Vaporeon, a water-type move that heals Eevee by 50% of the damage done to the opponent. Buzzy Buzz based on Jolteon, an electric-type move that guarantees paralyzing the opponent, except for electric types. And Sizzly Slide based on Flareon, a fire-type move that guarantees a burn on the opponent, except for fire types. By Celadon City, you've gained 2 more options for moves to learn. Glitzy Glow based on Espeon, a psychic type move that sets up the effects of Light Screen on your team, and Batty Bad based on Umbreon, a dark type move that sets up the effects of Reflect on your team. By Fuchsia City, you gain the last 3 options for moves to learn. Sappy Seed based on Leafeon, a grass type move that leaves a leech seed on the opponent. Freezy Frost based on Glaceon, an ice type move that gets rid of all stat changes in all Pokemon in the battlefield. And Sparkly Swirl based on Sylveon, a fairy type move that heals all status conditions of the user's party. The last move isn't really a move it can learn since it's Eevee's partner power. VV Volley, a normal type move that acts like Return where it does more damage the higher friendship it has, along with Never Missing. Let's be honest, with the amount of moves that partner Eevee's disposal, it can be an easy ace Pokemon for your team. I know that my Eevee is, but it was just shy of number 1. Also shout out to my partner August, of which my Eevee is named after. Before we get to number 1, some quick honorable mentions. Cool Pokemon and very good in battle, but I haven't used it enough to be a top favorite. Cute and really versatile with its infinite possibilities for a moveset, but I haven't used it on a team since it's only ever an event Pokemon. Good electric type with a great design, but I've only ever used it once, so honorable mention it is. This wasn't a Pokemon I thought would be on here until I started playing Let's Go Pikachu where it was part of my team. Good Pokemon and not a bad Venusaur substitute, since I made my own rule of not using the 3 Kanto starters in my Let's Go Pikachu run, but I've still yet to fully use one, and this, along with anything following, was added post-final write-up. Good ground type and really useful for fighting Team Rocket, but it does kinda lack in speed along with the previously mentioned post-final write-up. Not that bad for being the beginner bird Pokemon of the region, but even before Let's Go Pikachu, it wasn't the top favorite. Both are really good and pretty interchangeable with the slight variation in the stats, but I still haven't used them enough.
Gotta catch 'em all, Pokemon!
Come on, you knew he'd be on the list.
I choose you, Charizard!
evolution of the final starter Pokemon, Charizard takes my number 1 spot. Just like the other 2 starters, my main experience was in Pokemon X and Y. It has a high special attack and speed, with the other stats only being a little lower. When it Mega evolves into its X form, it loses the Flying type in exchange for Dragon, trading a weakness of Water and Electric to Ground and Dragon, while also cutting the Rock type weakness in half. It also gains more special attack, defense, and its attack stat becomes even with its special attack stat, while the Y form gains more attack, special attack, and special defense. In X form, it has the Tough Claws ability, which increases physical moves by 30%, while Y form gets the Drought ability, which has the same effect as Sunny Day without wasting a turn. Now let's get to the attacks, which it has a lot of. For level up alone, we have moves like Wing Attack, Flamethrower, Dragon Claw, Shadow Claw, Inferno, Air Slash, Heat Wave, Flare Blitz, and you can't forget about Blast Burn via Move Tutor. For TMs, it can learn moves like Solar Beam, Earthquake, Seismic Toss, Aerial Ace, Focus Blast, Fly, Iron Tail, Thunder Punch, Fire Punch, Dragon Pulse, Steel Wing, and Dragon Tail. A lot of these moves, along with either Mega Evolution, makes for a good and dangerous Pokemon. Overrated? Understandable. Terrible? Far from it. And that's my list. Hope you enjoyed. Have your own opinion? Leave your list in the comments below. And until next time, see ya!